Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. Islamabad has called on the United Nations and the international community to take note of Indian terrorism in Pakistan. Handling over a dossier on Indian terrorism to the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Pakistan's Ambassador Munir Akram said India is involved in sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan and in the region and wants to paralyze Pakistan's economy. United States President-elect Joe Biden has announced his foreign policy and national security team for 6 important posts. Speaking in his hometown of Wilmington, Biden says America is back and ready to lead the world as he turns away from Trump's America First policy. He says his administration will emphasize enhanced cooperation on working with Washington's allies. Syria's military says Israeli warplanes carried out airstrikes on the southern outskirts of the capital, Damascus. In a statement, the military says Israeli raids hit a strategic area from the occupied Golan Heights. It says the air raids caused only material damages. The global number of coronavirus deaths has topped 1.4 million, with more than 59.6 million infections. Brazil's COVID-19 death toll has crossed 170,000, while more than 6 million people have tested positive for the virus. India has registered over 134,000 fatalities and more than 9.1 million cases so far. Pakistan's death toll has surpassed 7,800, with 59 new deaths and over 3,000 new cases in the past 24 hours. And in football, Paris Saint-Germain have revived their hopes of reaching the Champions League knockout phase by beating RB Leipzig. Neymar scored the only goal of the match through an early penalty to secure the 1-0 victory for Paris. For news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Islamabad has called on the United Nations and the international community to take note of Indian terrorism in Pakistan.
Handing over a dossier on Indian terrorism, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Pakistan's Ambassador Munir Akram said India is involved in sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan and in the region and wants to paralyze Pakistan's economy. He urged the UN chief to prevail on New Delhi to desist from these illegal and aggressive activities. Later in a press briefing at the Pakistan mission, Ambassador Akram said he told Guterres that India is violating international law, the UN Charter and Security Council resolutions by stoking terrorism. He added, Pakistan will draw attention of the relevant UN bodies to Indian terrorism while reserving its right to self-defense. The envoy said the Secretary General praised Pakistan's fight against terrorism. In conducting the most successful counter-terror operations anywhere in the world, Pakistan paid a heavy price. Terrorism has claimed over 83,000 lives of civilians and soldiers and caused massive setback of economy worth $126 billion to Pakistan.
The World Economic Forum is holding its country strategy dialogue on Pakistan today. The dialogue is the World Economic Forum's signature platform for the countries with rising economies and promising growth potential. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan will inaugurate the dialogue and participate via video link. In the day-long event, global business leaders will hold discussions with advisors to the Prime Minister and cabinet ministers. Wide-ranging subjects including economy, trade, regional connectivity, and China-Pakistan economic corridor are on the agenda. Pakistan has established its first human rights resource portal with the collaboration with the European Union. In a video message, Minister of Human Rights Shireen Mazari said the portal contains all information related to human rights and Pakistan. Mazari said the portal is a source of information for Pakistan's laws and international conventions that the country has signed on human rights. She said the portal brings together the work on Ministry's action plan and its awareness and training programs on human rights. Mazari said the portal contains data on Pakistan's domestic human rights framework. This also included information regarding critical issues like prisons and child abuse.
It is an extremely comprehensive guide to anyone who wants to know not only the status of human rights in Pakistan, but the laws that exist, the potential trainings that are going to be done and are being done, and also the domestic human rights framework.
United States President-elect Joe Biden has announced his foreign policy and national security team for 6 important posts.
Speaking in his hometown of Wilmington, Biden says America is back and ready to lead the world as he turns away from Trump's America First policy. Biden said his administration will emphasize enhanced cooperation on working with Washington's allies. He praised the vast experience and diversity of his team, saying it will not retreat from challenges. The president-elect named Antony Blinken as Secretary of State and Alejandro Mayorkas as first Latino Homeland Security Secretary. Linda Thomas-Greenfield has been assigned the portfolio of ambassador to the UN. Jake Sullivan has been given charge of National Security Advisor. Biden continued to break barriers by appointing Avril Haines as Director of National Intelligence, the first woman to hold the post. With the announcement, Biden is pressing forward with transition even as Trump refuses to concede defeat.
Syria's military says Israeli warplanes carried out airstrikes on the southern outskirts of the capital, Damascus. In a statement, the military said Israeli strikes hit a strategic area from the occupied Golan Heights. It said the air raids only caused material damages. The strike on southern Damascus came just a week after a series of Israeli air raids against multiple targets inside Syria. Israeli officials have denied to comment on the Syrian army's claims. The global number of coronavirus deaths has topped 1.4 million, with more than 59.6 million infections. Brazil's COVID-19 death toll has crossed 170,000, while more than 6 million people have tested positive for the virus. India has registered 481 deaths and over 44,000 infections overnight, with a caseload crossing 9.2 million. More in this report.
As COVID-19 continues to change the world, hundreds of daily deaths and abnormal funeral conditions have quietly become the saddest new normal. The devastation of the virus in the Northern Hemisphere continues as Canada launched new restrictions to slow the spread in its Alberta province. In the U.S., the number of COVID-19 hospitalizations in California has increased by 81% over the last 2 weeks. Russian authorities say the country's coronavirus situation is becoming more complicated with the onset of winter season. But the country's Sputnik V vaccine is said to cost only $20, promising a much-needed silver lining to billions eagerly waiting.
Firstly, I would definitely be vaccinated with the Russian vaccine, since the Russian vaccine will be adapted for the people living in this region. Second, of course, I would like to do it for free. But $10 to $20 is not too much. People can afford it.
Meanwhile, European governments are also taking measures to prevent COVID-19 cases multiplying over the holiday season. France has announced only a limited easing of its strict nationwide lockdown, while Germany and Spain have outlined new curbs on Christmas and New Year gatherings. Over in the African continent, obstacles in distributing a vaccine in far-off regions has raised new concerns.
One of the problems you've got with these COVID vaccines is not many of them have been trialed in Africa. Luckily, AstraZeneca is one of the ones that has been trialed in Africa. But if you don't trial these vaccines in Africa, if Africa is not a part of the development, testing, and deployment of the vaccines, there's a risk that they might not even work on certain African populations.
However, in Oceania, the pandemic seems to be weakening as Australia's New South Wales state is set to ease social distancing restrictions after recording 3 weeks without any local transmission of COVID-19.
In Pakistan, 59 people have lost their lives to COVID-19 over the past 24 hours, raising the death toll to 7,803. The health ministry says 3,009 people tested positive for the disease overnight. The ministry said there are more than 42,000 active COVID-19 cases in the country. It added out of nearly 383,000 countrywide cases, almost 333,000 have recovered so far. The ministry said over 166,000 cases have been detected in the province of Sindh, while the Punjab has reported close to 116,000 cases. In the capital, Islamabad, nearly 28,000 have been infected so far. The president of Turkey and Russia have discussed the progress of agreements in the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Ankara's communications directorate said the joint Russian and Turkish monitoring in the region will soon be operational. President Tayyip Erdogan said his other co-chairs of Minsk groups criticizing Russian and Turkish peace process efforts is regrettable. Meanwhile, Russia's President Vladimir Putin briefed Erdogan about the activities of Russian peacekeepers. Earlier, Turkey said it will reveal the alleged war crimes by Armenia during the 6 weeks of fighting in the Karabakh region. Turkey's chief ombudsman said they inspected missile-hit civilian settlements during the field visit to Azerbaijan. He said the deliberate targeting of civilian settlements far from the front line is a crime against humanity. Thai police have summoned 7 leaders of anti-government protesters to face charges of insulting the monarchy. Police said the decision comes a day before the planned demonstration demanding the king to give up control of the royal fortune. It will be the first time that such charges have been brought under the laws about insults to the royal family in over 2 years. Anyone found guilty will face up to 15 years in prison. Protests against Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha have increasingly turned to demands to curb the royal powers. Police said no protesters will be allowed within 150 meters of the Crown Property Bureau. In France, lower house of the parliament has passed a controversial bill that declares circulating facial images of police officials is a crime. The bill, termed General Security Law, is designed to strengthen the police. Under the bill, anyone charged with a crime will be jailed for a year and fined 45,000 euros upon conviction. 388 members voted in favor and 104 voted against the bill, moving it to the Senate for the second approval. In response to the demonstrators against the bill, the government has allowed the broadcast of a police officer's individual identity number. Critics and protesters have slammed the law as authoritarian, which exempts police from accountability for their actions. French police have violently dismantled a makeshift migrant camp in Paris after clashes with migrants and activists. In a tweet, Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said that some of the scenes were shocking. Darmanin ordered police to provide a full report on their actions. Dozens of small tents were removed from Place de la République, with occupants being tipped out by the police. The homeless migrants say they are forced to live on the streets. Police resorted to baton charge the demonstrators as they moved in to clear the square of the migrants' tents. Police also used tear gas and chased people through the streets. 4 people have died after a migrant boat from Northwest Africa overturned just off the coast of the Spanish island of Lanzarote. Rescue officials say the death toll may rise as several others are still missing. Rescue officials say they were about 35 people on the vessel when it capsized after smashing into rocks in the Orloza. They say scores of people have been saved while rescuers are still searching for any survivors. They added all those on board were from Maghrebi in Northwest Africa and are trying to reach Spain's Canary Islands. The Spanish government has promised to set up camps and shelters for 7,000 people in the Canary Islands. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, the Utah Department of Public Safety has discovered a mysterious metal monolith in the southeastern part of the state. The Utah Wildlife Department officials on the mission to count bighorn sheep spotted an unusual 10 to 12 feet high shiny silver metal monolith sticking out of the ground. The department did not disclose the location of the monolith. Officials said anyone who goes to the area could end up getting stranded and will require a rescue operation. They say it is illegal to install structures or art without authorizations on public lands. They added that the origin of the monolith is not yet clear. This year, the Thanksgiving holiday is being celebrated in a different style due to the pandemic. COVID-19 has transformed the parade into a television-only event. More in this report.
American department store chain Macy's is preparing for a Thanksgiving Day parade unlike any other. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, there will be no children and no spectators lining New York City's traditional 2.5-mile parade route. But there will be giant character balloons and floats with a few modifications for the times. Executive producer of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade says they are trying to keep everybody safe at home.
I think the biggest thing that we're going to be looking at this year is ensuring that we reduce our crowd size, whether that's actually internally in the parade itself, and then we're going to be really blocking off the areas to make sure that we're producing a show for television. So there won't be any audience, there won't be people lining the streets, and that's so that we can keep everybody at home safe on Thanksgiving Day.
The company says the giant balloons will be flown out without the traditional 80 to 100 balloon handlers. Instead of marching through Manhattan, the parade will be reimagined over the course of several days leading up to the live Thanksgiving Day broadcast. New this year to the parade are giant balloons of the Boss Baby and Red Titan from Ryan's World. New floats debuting are Big Turkey Spectacular, Tom and Jerry's Tourist Trap, and Christmas in Town Square.
I think this year, more than ever, it's incredibly important that we deliver Thanksgiving and this celebration and tradition to everybody across the country. I think we all need a little bit of relief and happiness this year and a little bit of entertainment, and that's what our plan is to deliver that on Thanksgiving morning.
The parade will be aired on television on November 26th in all time zones.
Britain has called on the European Union to move ahead in order to secure a mutually favourable Brexit deal. In an interview, British Cabinet Minister Michael Gove expressed hope that the UK will be able to secure a good deal with the European Union. Grove said that the bloc needs to acknowledge that the people of Britain voted to take back control, which was the most important thing. With the resumption of talks, EU's negotiator Michel Barnier said major gaps on fishing rights and economic fair play still remained. The two sides have been trying to keep trillions of dollars worth bilateral trade free of tariffs and quotas from 2021.
We have a very strong, very able negotiating team under David Frost, and they are working round the clock to secure the very best deal for the United Kingdom. We've got clear red lines, and we won't cross them. But I hope that we will be able to secure a good deal with the European Union. But it's important to recognise that the European Union needs to move as well, and it needs to acknowledge that we voted to take back control, and that's the most important thing.
China says the country's economic activity can return to a reasonable range next year. Premier Li Qiang said that this year's China's economy can achieve positive growth. The Prime Minister said China's economy grew 0.7% in the first 9 months of 2020 from a year earlier. He said Beijing will allow consumption to play a guiding role in investment to play an effective role in this regard. Li said China will maintain a continuous and stable macroeconomic policy, adopting more reform measures. He said China will continue implementing active fiscal policy and a ready, steady monetary policy. International Air Transport Association says global airlines are set to lose nearly $157 billion this year and next. In a statement, AITA said the industry is poised to face a nearly $120 billion deficit this year and further loss in 2021. IATA Director General Alexander de Eunuch said that the situation will not improve before mid-2021. He added the governments must replace traveling, stifling quarantine regimes lockdowns with widespread testing. The warning of further downgraded of industry outlook in response to a second wave of COVID-19 infections and shutdowns. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific continue to trade mixed over looming uncertainty about the distribution and effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index has gained a little over 0.5%. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 and the Topix Index have also added more than 0.5%. Australia's ASX 200 have also edged up a point by 5%. But mainland Chinese stocks have declined close to 1%, with both Shanghai Composite and the Shenzhen Component shedding. South Korea's Kospi has also slipped over 0.5%. And now sports. In football, teams battle to book their spot in the penultimate stage of the contest as injuries and fatigue pose a staunch challenge. More in this report.
As the knockout stage of the UEFA Champions League draw closer, Barcelona, Chelsea, Juventus and Sevilla have become the first teams to qualify for the final 16. Paris Saint-Germain have revived their hopes of reaching the Champions League knockout phase by beating RB Leipzig. Neymar scored the only goal of the match through an early penalty to secure the 1-0 victory for Paris. Earlier, Cristiano Ronaldo's first-half strike against Ferencváros equaled Lionel Messi's record of 70 home goals in the league. Chelsea booked their ticket to the round of 16 with a 2-1 win against Rennes in Group E. Meanwhile, Barcelona put out a dominant second-half display to comprehensively defeat Ukrainian giants Dynamo Kiev 0-4 on their own turf. In Group E, Ivan Rakitic's superb early strike and Munir's late clincher sent Sevilla through after defeating Krasnodar 2-1. Meanwhile, Manchester United coach says the team can still make its way to the knockout round.
Well, the group is still very open. We've got 9, 2 on 6 and Başakşehir on 3, so we still need points to go through. 1 probably should be enough to go through, and 3 probably gives you the win. So it's going to be 2. Hopefully against PSG we can secure the points we need.
Moreover, Liverpool's same Mohamed Salah is available to face Atlanta today after testing negative for coronavirus.
It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.News.